Welcome. My guest today is Marzia Arico, an organization designer from the Netherlands who focuses on how value for customers, employees, and the business can be designed better. We'll be discussing a challenge many enterprise architects struggle with: how to uncover real value, how to get closer to the end customer, and ultimately, how to get a seat at the strategic table. Let's dive in. Do you want to sharpen your skills as an enterprise architect? Welcome to Verbonden, the podcast where we combine insights from experienced professionals with real-world examples from the world of architecture. My name is Elise Luyckx, and I am your guide through the layers of enterprise architecture, making it less mythical and more concrete. So welcome on the podcast, a bit unexpected for you, maybe. First things first, can you give some context on your career? Do you call yourself enterprise designer? What does it mean to you? Just give us some context.
Sure, okay. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean for me? I actually usually call it organizational design, not necessarily enterprise design. And for me, it's really a couple of things. It's really looking holistically at the organizational machine and in what way that is providing and creating value. And value for me has different types of meanings. It could be, of course, monetary value, so that's one type of value, but there is also social value, there is also human value, there is value for customers, value for the employees. Mm-hmm. And so I look at value streams, trying to understand how value is created and in what way that can be designed better. Mm-hmm. So I put design at the center of the work that I do. I'm a designer by background, but I also have a PhD in organizational design from a business school. So I try to really always bridge the design perspective and the organizational perspective, putting at the center multiple types of values and trying to understand in what way the design approach can help us untangle complexity, can help us involve the right types of stakeholders in the right way for a better state of things.
Okay. You work as a consultant, I assume?
I do,
Yeah.
yes. I've always worked as a consultant. Actually, I've always refused to go in-house.
Okay. How do you start in a consultancy context uncovering the values? What are the first questions that you normally ask?
Well, usually the way I start is organizational ethnography. So I spend a couple of months trying to understand how do people work, how do people talk to each other, what do they talk about. When they talk about varying platforms, what is that? What does it look like? And there are a couple of questions that I usually ask at the very beginning of my time with an organization, which is, who's the customer? Mm-hmm. Like, who are your customers? Who are people that you're supposed to serve? That is true for B2C and B2B. So also in a B2B context, you can talk about clients, right? Mm-hmm. Do you have a list of products and services that you offer to your clients?
Yeah.
How are decisions made around here? These seem pretty straightforward questions, but actually the answer to those questions is usually very hard because different parts of the organizations will give you a very different answer. Mm-hmm. And that is a problem because there is no holistic view, there is no one perspective of what the truth actually is.
Yeah.
And so what I try to do with my work is really create one point of reference, what I call the scaffolding, that allows everyone to have one view, one understanding, what value we are creating for whom and how. Yeah. And that becomes the starting point then for everything else.
So I also, I was triggered by the word of value and how in a company it's perceived differently. A company is made up of people, and people are known to see value differently. Yeah. How do you go about aligning a company then?
Yeah. Well, a company is not just made of people. A company is made of people, but it's also made of enabling systems.
Yeah.
It's also made of enabling processes and policies, right? So this is what I call, and data. This is what I call our material of design, fundamentally. So when you are an industrial designer, your material is plastic, is wood. When you are in an organization and you operate as an enterprise designer, your material becomes data, your material becomes behavior, your material becomes policies and processes that actually drive those behaviors, right? Mm-hmm. And now I forgot the question. What was the question?
Let me just... the question was... how do you bring together one value for the company?
And so, of course, depending on when you are standing in the organization, and that's the reason why I actually keep telling to the people that I coach design leaders that design is not what you do, is where you stand. Depending on where you stand in this system, in the organization, whether you are in marketing or in operations, whether you're sitting next to the CEO, to the people at the call center, you will see different types of values. Because at the center of the equation, there is something or someone else. Mm-hmm. And so for me, a critical aspect to it is to align key stakeholders in the organization around what are we actually here to do, what are the outcomes that we want to see, and how do we define value. Yeah. And so usually that is an impossible question to answer because people will have a gazillion different answers. So the work that I usually do at the very beginning is to sit down for a couple of days and really agree on what are the outcomes that we want to achieve with our clients or customers, what are the outcomes that we want to achieve for the business, what are the outcomes that we want to achieve for operations, and what are the outcomes that we want to achieve for sustainability, actually, for our impact on this planet and the people in it. And so by doing that, you basically force people to pick one or two things that the organization is after. And that drives the types of value that you wanna focus on, basically, from different perspectives. Because of course, value is multifaceted. There will be different types of value. Money is for sure one, but you can have a couple. But it's important to understand to agree on what is that we are here to do, which is fundamentally purpose, isn't it?
Yeah. Have you seen what kind of changes have you seen before and after a company sees that this is our value? These are the two. Things that we choose? I
think one of the first things is cutting the noise and being able to prioritize better. Because very often when I enter organizations, that is not very clear what is more. Everything seems as important, right? Yes. And so everything is running at the same speed. Yeah. While there are probably certain things that you're doing that are way more important than others, right? And so this is what I call a multi-speed approach. On one end, you should learn how to drop stuff, that's one thing, but also to agree on what are the priorities right now. And that might change in 2 months' time. But right now, what is the 1, 2, 3 things that we absolutely want to prioritize? They should go at a much higher speed than everything else that will go to a just lower speed at the moment. And then in 2 months' time, it will be something different. But so this ability of seeing the system in an holistic way, agree what are our priorities right now, agree on that, and then adjust the speed of teams and the work to follow that. So that is one of the things that you start immediately seeing, right? It's almost relieving for people because it's like, everyone in these organizations is incredibly, tired. The workload is crazy. A lot of people do multiple jobs, cover multiple roles, right? Or we've seen that right and left. And so the ability to say, okay, actually, I'm going to focus on this, and this thing will not be done until next week. Yeah. That is just healthy, I think. Yeah. You're not also doing this job yourself. You also coach people. When you coach people, what things do you, in your experience, what things do your coachees struggle with or get stuck with the most? I think one of the first things is getting the sense of agency. A lot of people, especially before
of agency.
No, agency. Okay. So before getting into leadership, so I coach people that are just about to get in leadership roles. So they're preparing for it, but also people that have just gone into leadership roles and people that have been in leadership for decades. And so, especially for those that are at the beginning of this journey, clarifying for themselves, I have agency And I have every single design decisions that I take every day as an impact on the system, as an impact on the future of this organization, right? And so not waiting to be invited in the room, but actually create your own space for making impact happen, because no one understands design fundamentally. It's very hard to find people in organizations that understand design beyond UI, right? And so you are no one is going to ask you to operate design early, because no one knows. So it's the objective of the design leader to actually enter rooms where you're not invited and figure out how can you create value and impact within that room, right?
Yeah.
And so jump into adjacent fields and really try and understanding what way design as a mindset, as an approach, as a perspective can help the organization do better. Very rarely you will be invited in rooms. You've got to invite yourself.
Yeah.
And that shift is really hard. That shift is really hard because we are not trained like that. We are not used to operate like that. It requires a level of self-confidence in yourself, but also in the practice that you represent that many people do not have.
Yeah. It's also, it's putting yourself out there for the risk to be rejected, like get out of the room.
Sure, and sometimes that happens, fine. I mean, that's actually the worst thing that can happen. They will tell you, please leave the room.
Yeah.
All right. But there will be other 5 rooms where they say, hey, actually your perspective is useful.
Yeah. And how do people overcome this like the waiting for permission kind of?
Yeah, but just doing it. I mean, there is no other way. You've got to do it. So, try. And that's why organizational ethnography is really important. Try and figure out what is the best room right now that you can start from, where you have people that somewhat are, ready to hear your story. So maybe that's an easier room to enter. Maybe, leave the hardest room for later.
Yeah.
And try and show value and just let the work speak for itself.
Yeah. I've also seen some people going for it, so to speak, taking the leap, but then doing it in a bad way. There's also a bad way to do this, right?
Yeah, of course, you need to be prepared, right?
What is the good way?
Yeah, you need to be prepared. You need to know your audience really well. So you need to understand, I'm entering in this room, and the people in this room, what do they value? What do they represent? What do they legitimize, right? All of you really need to do your homework well, right?
Yeah.
You cannot just enter the room like a clown, otherwise it becomes a mess. But, you've got to do your homework well, understanding your audience, understanding how do these people create value, what is the business model behind them, what are their KPIs, at the end of the day, if they get a bonus, on what do they get a bonus, right? What is their burning platform? So do your homework, know your audience, and then enter the room by listening, right? That's the first and foremost most important thing. Shut up and listen to what they're actually trying to do.
Yeah.
And when you talk with reason. When you talk, you bring something that is actually valuable, a new perspective. Because most of these rooms will be very vertical rooms. Will be rooms where specialisms wins, right? This is what they are. They are specialists. They're experts in their thing. But as a design leader, you're not a specialist. Design is a horizontal practice. The core of it is bringing stakeholders at the center. It's co-creation. It's transformational power. It's experimentation. So as you are horizontal, you will bring value from areas that are completely far away from what they represent, right? But you've got to find a way to show that within context. So don't preach, don't try to educate, because this is not what people like. No one wants to be educated. Fuck off, like what do you want?
Yeah.
But try to actually be relevant within the context. So try of being of service, basically.
Yeah, I think that does relate or trigger for me that for in the enterprise architecture field is also this idea people entering rooms and they start with Archimate or TOGAF or try to explain what is the capability map, why should we make it, and let's start a workshop on this.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and then for me and myself, I'm also still looking for what questions do I start to do, what do I need to gather to get people.
Yeah, I mean, people love talking about themselves.
Yeah.
That's a fact in humanity, right?
Yeah.
And so, asking what are you struggling with right now? What is the thing in your team, in your department that you guys are actually, working on and you're really struggling to figure out?
Yeah.
What is the top 1 pain point that you guys have? and start from letting them talk about their reality and their things.
Yeah.
And a good listener, a good design leader will know how to connect the dots and actually create a connection to what he or she wants to bring to the table, right?
You need self-confidence, but also you need to, that's a
Awareness,
confidence building technique as well with people. I
Yeah.
listen to you, I understand what keeps you up or keeps you going.
Yeah.
But
and then I bridge.
Yes.
Because fundamentally, I think that the role of a design leader is one of translator, is one of orchestrator, really bridging between different perspectives. And that role really requires that. It requires awareness. It requires the ability to actually listen, but listen not to respond. Because a lot of people listen so that they are already forming in their mind a response, right? They listen to respond. But the key here is to listen to understand, which is a very different skill.
Yeah, exactly. I've been experiencing it in the podcast as well.
Yeah.
It's important to not just have my 5 questions now and then just go through them.
I have a dialogue,
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And that's actually the most valuable parts in the conversations here as well. Yeah. So thank you for elaborating a bit on this.
Yeah, of course.
There's one question or one thing that when you speak with users and their values, and in some cases, enterprise architects are very in the software field or an IT department, and sometimes they don't have access to the people themselves to ask what do you need. For example, the end user of the products or employees that are using the systems. What would you say to these people? How can they try to uncover what is valued more upstream, so they say?
It might sound very basic, but it's like, go talk to people. You don't need to prepare like a crazy interview to be super sophisticated on it. You can just have a coffee with someone asking, how are you finding this? What are you struggling with? What are you trying to achieve? If you had a magic wand, how would you, design this thing? Like having conversations with people, giving them the possibility to actually talk about themselves, what they're struggling with, is the first thing. Like it's the outside-in approach, right? Yeah. Starting from the outside and then finding your way into the actual product or thing that you're working on is a fundamental thing. Because if you do not do that, then it's just irrelevance is behind the corner.
Yeah. I like the magic wand question.
Yeah, it's a very good question.
Very powerful. Let me ask this. Let me ask the magic wand question for you.
Okay.
If you have a magic wand for enterprise design as a field, what would you use the magic wand for?
I think would be to bring at the center multi-stakeholder perspective. A lot of people talk about human centricity. For me, it's beyond that. For me, it's stakeholder centricity. Human is one aspect, but there are also non-human factors like the environment. And so for me, it would be bringing that perspective at the very center, at the very core of the work that is done, rather than data, rather than technology, rather than all those things that are supposed to be enablers, that are supposed to be there to support a much higher goal. And very often what I see instead is that they become the center of the conversation.
Yeah, it's the focus of what people are talking about. Yeah. It's harder to... Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. For yourself, that's always my last question. And I'm a believer in personal development. Everybody's involving, no matter how experienced you get at some point. Yeah. What is your next step? What do you want to learn in the next few months, for example, or want to accomplish in the next few months?
So I'm about to start writing my second book.
Okay, cool.
My first book was a graphic novel. And the reason why I chose a graphic novel is because well, 30% of the population is neurodivergent. They either have ADHD or they're on the spectrum. People consume content in very different ways, and thick text is not necessarily the best way to do it. So it's just a graphic novel because it's way more inclusive and is a great way to tell stories.
All right.
And so now for my next book, which is going to actually be about the topic of that I tackled today at the conference together with my partner, Giulio Frigeri, we are going to write about design as governance in an AI-enabled enterprise.
Yeah.
I'm going to start exploring different formats for that because I'm not sure a thick book, I'm sure that a thick book is not a good answer.
Yeah.
I don't think the topic lands for a graphic novel, so I
Okay.
will have to find something else. So I think in my next 2 months, I'm going to start this quest into understanding what other possible formats for communicating knowledge
Yeah.
are there.
All right. I'm very curious where that investigation is going to lead you.
Yes, I'll let you know. I'll keep you posted.
Right now, I am dreaming of like a customized Alexa that is the book or the material
We'll have to see.
to interact. Yeah, I'm very curious. So I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
With that goal.
Thank you so
And
much.
thank you for being here.
Of course.
A huge thank to Marzia Arico for her insights to uncovering value and getting a seat at the table. I hope this conversation gives you practical ideas to increase your own impact. Thank you for listening. Many thanks to Pieter-Jan Rombout for producing and editing, and to Leonard Busset for the intro music. And of course, thank you for listening, and see you next time.